baseball fans. You're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
Welcome to On Deck. I'm Tyler Redmond. As always, thank you so much for checking out the channel. I do appreciate it. While you're here, make sure to like this video, subscribe to this channel, and hit the bell for notifications so that you can stay up to date with everything going on here at On Deck and, of course, with the Atlanta Braves. Well, the postseason is underway and the wildcard games are over, which means we now know the 8 teams that are left in the postseason picture. And in the American League, it's the Red Sox, the White Sox, the Astros, and the Rays. In the National League, it's the Dodgers, the Braves, the Brewers, and the Giants. And I know a lot of you guys would want me to talk about the Braves' chances versus a team like the Dodgers or a team like the Giants, a more formidable foe, if you will. But they got to get through the Milwaukee Brewers, who are also a formidable force. So make no mistake about it, this is not going to be a walk in the park. And you're going to see a lot of different takes on this series between the Braves and the Brewers, but I think it's important to have a few standards here. When measuring these two teams up against each other, it's important to distinguish the Braves from the first half to the second half, right? They're not the same team. So to me, I think you just have to eliminate the first half stats. And in fairness to the Brewers, we're going to do the same thing here. But the Braves fundamentally changed at the trade deadline. So I'm only considering what the team is from that point on. So from the All-Star break, the Braves are 43-29. Before that, they were 44-45, a losing record to the record they have now, miles apart. The Brewers, by the way, were 42-28 in the second half, so they're right there with the Braves, and I think that's a much better picture as to where these two teams are in relation to each other. I think they're much more even than their full season record would show. But there will be a stat here where I include full season. That is head-to-head matchup because you can't replace it. They're 3-3 against each other on the year, so take that as you will. I couldn't find an advantage in either one of them, but it is important to realize, and I said this before the Phillies series, that this Braves team is different. I didn't say better, but they are different. We have had some major losses. I think we all know that. Ronald Acuna, Marcell Ozuna, Travis d'Arnaud for much of the year. But in that, we found a new identity. And here's what I mean. We're going to take a look at some stats real quick. The Braves' offensive stats before and after the All-Star break are interesting to me. Before the All-Star break, the Braves had 403 walks. That's 5th in the National League. After the All-Star break, 222. Now, they fell there, 11th in the National League. Before the All-Star break, the Braves had a 322 on-base percentage as a team. That's 6th in the National League. And after the All-Star break, they fell again to 12th, 317 on base. So, I know you're wondering, Tyler, that's a bad stat. Why aren't you showing me this? There's a reason. I think what this shows is this. We have a lot more aggressive players in the lineup. Now, that could be better or worse. But when you bring in guys like Jorge Soler or Jock Peterson or even Adam Duvall, guys who don't walk a lot, naturally your on-base percentage is going to go down, right? Those two stats go together. But what about the stats where we improved? Before the All-Star break, the team batting average, 238. That's good for 8th in the National League. After the All-Star break, 250 team batting average. That's 6th in the National League. Now let's take a look at homers before the All-Star break. 123. That was good for 2nd in the National League. After the All-Star break, 116. And I know you're thinking, Tyler, that's less than the first half. Keep in mind, less games, and it's only 7 less. That was good to lead the National League in homers. So they improved in batting average, they improved in homers, but they go down in on base. It's because the walks are down, right? I'm not saying that the Braves need to walk more. I don't think that's the case. I think this is just a difference in those players versus the players and the style of play we had in the first half. But this is where I think the Braves really shined this half. Take a look at this. Before the All-Star break, 403 RBIs. That was 5th in the National League. After the All-Star break, 359. I know it's less, but it's less games. That was 1st in the National League. I think this stat really gets my message across here. The Braves have come through with either runners in scoring position or they've hit a bomb when it mattered. Now that the regular season is over, guess what? These stats are just as irrelevant as the stats from the first half, right? You got to throw them out because once you reach the postseason, none of it matters. These stats shape the postseason. They get players where they're supposed to go. They get teams where they're supposed to go. But after that, teams color outside the lines. Things change. We play differently. We play more aggressive. We play less aggressive. We play for the walk. We play for a stolen base. Things change in the postseason. So, again, none of this matters. And it will be interesting to see how the Braves are going to match up against the Brewers, who are fundamentally a very different team. The Braves, at its simplest, have a really good offense. They have a decent starting staff. And they have an unreliable bullpen. The Brewers, on the other hand, have a okay offense, a really good starting rotation, especially led off by Corbin Burnes, and a pretty good bullpen. They are down Devin Williams, though, which is huge. Make no mistake about it. But their three starters to begin this series are Corbin Burnes, Brandon Woodruff, and Freddie Peralta, who's expected to start Game 3. Corbin Burnes, if you play MLB The Show, you should know who this is. He was on everybody's squad early in the year. He is the front runner for the NL Cy Young Award. He has been great this year. But believe it or not, in an early game between the Braves and the Brewers, the Braves lost this game, but they got to Corbin Burnes. They knocked him out after 4 innings and put 5 earned runs on the board for Corbin. That was one of the few blemishes he had at the time. I don't know if he had any other than that one before that point, but they got to him. So look, it's not impossible to score on Corbin Burnes. Better that you do. You don't want to get into an 8th or 9th inning down a run and you got to face Hader, right? You don't want to have to deal with that. Corbin will be taking on Charlie Morton. And I told you last time I did a preview that anytime we're in a postseason series or something, I want Charlie Morton starting Game 1 because he sets the pace. He's been there before. He's not going to be flustered, and he's going to bring his best game. That's who I would put in that spot as well. I think that's the right decision. And frankly, with Charlie Morton on the mound, if he can minimize the damage and the offense can score a few runs early, I think this is anybody's game. I'm not saying the Braves are going to win it because our bullpen's been unreliable as anybody's this year, but I do think this is anyone's game, and I think it could go either way. It is home field advantage for Milwaukee, which I know that could probably be cause for concern for a lot of you guys. But if you're a believer in such splits, Milwaukee's road record is better than their home record. I do think this is anyone's game. Not to mention the Brewers, as good as pitching as they have, again, they're down Devin Williams, which is huge. That cannot be understated. He broke his hand similar to how Huascar Noah broke his hand in celebration. In the celebration after they won the division. But granted, again, the Braves bullpen has not been extraordinary this season, but if they can hold it together, the Braves do have a chance at winning Game 1, and I do think that could happen. Now, what about Game 2? Game 2, I'm picking as a must-win for the Braves. You have to leave Milwaukee with at least one, right? If you lose Game 1, Game 2 is mandatory. But if you win Game 1, and then you could win Game 2 and keep the momentum rolling. I think Game 2 is a must-win. I said the same thing about the Phillies series, though. Look, every game in the postseason is a must-win. I know that. This one, considering the circumstances, this one is big. You got to walk out of Milwaukee with one. You got to, and this is the Braves' best chance. Max Fried is going to take on Brandon Woodruff, and Woodruff has been pretty good this season, a 2.56 ERA, but he hasn't gotten run support this season, a 9-10 record on the year. That's right, a losing record with a 2.56 ERA. And don't forget, the Braves were able to get to him as well early on this season. On July 31st, a day after the trade deadline, here's a throwback. Braves win 8-1. Dansby would have 3 hits, including a grand slam. But Adam Duvall had a hit and a run scored, plus Jorge Soler, who was as hot as he could be after the deadline, had 3 hits himself. My point is, yes, Dansby killed it that game, but so did our new additions, Jorge Soler and Adam Duvall. So these are the players that the Brewers haven't seen. These are the players that they have to adjust for, right? The Braves went on to win that game 8-1. I'm not saying it's going to happen again. My point is this is the one appearance that we've seen Brandon Woodruff face the Braves this year, and it's the one we got to go by. It could completely go a different way. I do think it's interesting that the Braves did really well against him this year. Not to mention, you got Max Fried on the mound, which if you're not confident with Max Fried on the mound, you need to pick a new team. So what about Game 3? Now this one will be at Truist Park, and it will be a home game for the Braves. Hopefully you guys get to go out there and support your Atlanta Braves. But it will also be Ian Anderson taking on who will likely be Freddie Peralta. Now that is not confirmed yet. Craig Counsell has not made that decision for Game 3 yet. But anyone on the inside is reporting that it will likely be Freddie Peralta. So that's what I'm going to go with. But if it changes, you know what happened. But we know Ian Anderson. We know the year he's had. We talked about it last week. At the time, he was the only question mark I really had in terms of starting pitching in that series, in the series preview of the Braves and Phillies. But he was the one question mark I had in terms of whether or not the Braves could sweep the Phillies. I thought the Phillies might score against him early on. That did not happen. He walked out of that series 9-5 while also clinching the division. And look, he gave up a big 2-run bomb, but that was after 6 innings scoreless, so it's hard to be mad at that. He showed up when it mattered, and so did the bullpen, and that's important as well. So hopefully that happens again. If you're wondering about Freddie Peralta and how he did versus the Braves this year, he did have a pretty good outing versus the Bravos. It was back in May. He kept Atlanta scoreless through 6, but the lineup was also a lot different. Let me just read you these names. Acuna happened to be out for this game, so A-Ray led off. Freddie, Ozuna, Albies, Dansby, Austin Riley, who hadn't had his coming out party yet, it's important to mention, William Contreras, no Darno, and Ender Inciarte, and then the pitcher spot. Now, I'm just saying, I'm curious how he attacks a lineup that also includes Soler, Darno, and Adam Duvall added into it. Anything can happen in the postseason, and I can't wait for it. So, if you're wondering where Game 4 and 5 are in this series preview, I may drop another video if it gets that far, but we got to get that far first. So, for right now, here's Game 1, 2, and 3. I'll see you probably Monday. So if we move on, look Monday for another one for Game 4 and 5. With that out of the way, guys, have fun watching and get to the ballpark on Monday night. Make sure you are there. I will hopefully be there. I'll let you know on the community page whether or not I got tickets to go. But don't wait around. Go out there, be active, support your Braves. It's very important. Look, home field advantage relies on the fans, so make sure you're in attendance. By the way, I want to thank some folks for coming up to me at the game last Thursday night. It was the clincher. And it was a fun one to be at. Cody Hurd, he reached out to me on, I guess, in the comments section and found out where I was. He came and tracked me down at my seat and took a picture with me. Cody, I appreciate it, my man. And then also McLean Ramey walked up to me with his phone with the channel pulled up to confirm it was me, which I thought was hilarious. He is also the owner of Line Drive Academy. And so make sure to go give him a follow at his tag there. I'm sure he'd appreciate it. It was a funny moment followed by a great moment where the Braves clinched the division. So with that out of the way, guys, hope you enjoyed this series between the Braves and the Brewers. Hopefully they can move past the Brewers and we can move on to face either the Dodgers or the Giants. With that out of the way, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time right here at On Deck.
Baseball fans, make sure you like and share this video and subscribe to this channel. As always, thank you for your support.